Yes, hello, welcome. We are very excited to connect with you, and we're all here who already knows the questions you have for us, which is making Joanne very excited because she has no idea. She is completely clueless. So this is exciting for all.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's so great to be here. May I begin?
Yes, absolutely. We're very excited.
Okay. What is the ego?
Yes. If we could say it's an organ and it is an important organ for your body, even though we're not saying it's an organ, this is just an analogy we would like to say. Um, Actually, we would prefer people to assume it is an organ, even though it's not. So roll with us as we explain this for you. So this is a beautiful organ that is very important. You must all have this special organ because it is part of how your body runs, how your mind runs, and it really is a significant part to you. It is your organ. It is you. It is the I in you. It is me. It is what you refer to. It is significant and unique. And you can't have the same organs, but you do. But with this one, it is very, it's a fingerprint of who you are. It is your essence. And so while some people think, oh no, yuck, get it off me. I don't want to have an ego. That sounds bad. People have told me to check my ego. What they're really saying is check that organ. Is that organ healthy? Have you looked after it? Have you exercised it? Have you known how to maintain it, to cleanse it, to clear it? Just like you should all know about how to keep a healthy heart physically, keep your lungs healthy, keep your liver clean, and all of your other fun organs that you hold so tightly and close to you because they are within you and you are within them. But we want to keep referring to the ego as a healthy, beautiful, special, unique fingerprint essence of you. And so this organ goes with you wherever you go. It is attached to you very firmly. And we are wanting to say it will, when you leave this physical body, the organ will become invisible, shall we say, with keeping up with his analogy. But it will be the signature frequency of this lifetime. And so when people want to call you in, as we do in sessions, you're really calling in that organ, that special frequency, and that is your personality. That is what you've experienced and what you know. And while your subconscious is in this format, how we understand subconsciousnesses in these sessions, your subconscious is aware of all of your egos that you've ever lived. And so they are like pages in the book that we've also referred to as the history and experiences of your life, in a beautiful bound book. And each page is a different reference to a different lifetime that you have experienced. So, gosh, we love analogies, and we're not too sure if all of them work for each individual person listening because they're like, I'm confused. Do I have another organ I don't have? And we want to say no. The ego is it is just your personality. It is you, and this is what is so unique to each individual person. You all are born with the same type of structures. You relatively to us are very, very, very identical. In your bodies, even though you may style yourselves differently with your hair and your clothing, and you have different languages, really you are all the same. And but the unique thing is your ego. And we want you to know that you can love this organ and be proud of this organ because you have worked hard to develop it. And sometimes people neglect their egos and don't feel very good about themselves, feel like they don't deserve anything good in their lives for various reasons. And so their ego will look very sad and feel very lonely and not feel very good about themselves. And then on the other scale of things, some people may feel fantastic about themselves, feel like they are just or we want to say God's gift, and be really, really, really proud of who they are and boast, 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 boast. And we're talking about the extreme when people have very big egos, who they are able to tell and brag to everyone who they are and what they are. And they are a walking salesman pitch with their CV of everything they have ever accomplished, including winning first prize in the egg running competition when they were 5 years old, and they bet silly Susie who was slow. Those are the people who have gigantic organ egos, and it's very big and bolshy, and that is fantastic, fine too, because it works for them, because they are wanting to experience what that actually feels like to have such a big ego and try to connect with others. And now we want to sort of say an analogy. All egos, regardless of the state of them, whether they are very sad and small versus the big and bold, they are all again signature registrations of each individual person. And now this is something you may not all be aware of, but when you're more finely in tuned in with your intuition, you can read people's ego organs, shall we say, very quickly. You can test from communicating with someone what that ego looks like. And again, there's no good or bad, so we're certainly not saying that this is, we're not casting any judgment on here. We're talking very broadly, and we are sure you have met the people with the little sad egos and then the massive big egos. And we want to sort of say whatever you choose to do with your ego is up to you. You are in control of it, absolutely, and life will impact your ego in many ways. And so you are responsible for your ego. And we would love it for you all to have the best ego for you, for your life purpose and journey. So do not judge what your ego is and how big or small it is, because it suits you and works for you right now. If there is something that's kind of weighing in on your heart right now and sort of thinking, I'm wondering if my ego is not the right size that it is currently right now. If you're pondering whether your ego is correct or not, then maybe you need to start questions to yourself and wondering, is there blocks here where my ego should be a bit more bigger and a bit more shinier and a little bit more free to be expressive of who you are? And maybe there may be some people here that are realizing, if people can read my big ego and I'm trying to play it cool, maybe this is not working out. Maybe this is not a good plan of attack. And maybe my communication with others is a little bit askew. And maybe this is the reason why. You do not need to be loud and be fully self-representing yourself to give away where your big ego is. It can be very subtle. And so this is a big fascinating topic, and we're very excited to be able to communicate this with you. But once again, we wonder if our analogies are not as perfect as they could be, but we wanted to give you those visual aids to help us connect and communicate with you the best way. How does that sound to you?
Thank you for that analogy. Do we choose our egos in our life contract?
Well, yes, the egos can come from past lifetimes. And so if you have experienced whatever you sign up for your life contract, you will add in the type of environment that you're growing up in. And so if you need to have a smaller ego to be able to keep you not going off track, absolutely you would have signed that in. If you wanted to have a big ego to be able to experience how the world works around you, then yes, you would add it on. And then also there is parts of your past lifetimes where those personalities, it kind of those sort of traits of who you are essentially, does also weave into the current new life that you're planning's ego, and because it is truly really your personality. But in saying that, it's very important to have different types of egos for different lives, for the different purposes. So yes, it's individually chosen. But again, as soon as you come here, you have free will to go against your life contract, even though you didn't realize you've written that life contract. And we're here to be able to nudge you with love and guide you with love into different directions to be able to kind of get you back on the track that you have wanted. And most people can't understand why we would interfere and kind of push and nudge you. And we're saying with love, because you have written this life contract and we're honoring that information and your wishes from the other side, knowing what you had hoped for this lifetime. And we still see that you're wanting still the same results. And so while you may exceed and learn more new things that wasn't necessarily on your life purpose or life experiences that you'd hoped or life contract, these are bonuses. And so we're always happy to help you with those bonuses too. But if, especially with this lifetime right now, this current lifetime, it's super important for you to have all of your checks, everything that you've wanted to experience and master in this lifetime covered. You can understand why it's very important that everyone gets what they really wanted out of this lifetime resolved and sorted out for many reasons. And so that's why there's many of us supporting everyone right now around the planet to be able to release any old karmas and traumas and anything that you guys are wanting to experience this round.
So to clarify, if we travel with the energy of the ego, our personality, these are lessons that we are continuing to learn. Let's say if someone died unexpectedly in a past life, they might be integrating it in this life.
Physically, yes, you can. So if you have a physical trauma from a death, you can bring it in this lifetime because it's such an imprint on your soul. And so is this what you're asking, that you physically, and also like, for example, if you fell at a great height and that's how you died in one lifetime, you may not be such a brave person with heights in this lifetime, because intuitively yourself, your mind knows the true dangers of it, and it is triggering you. So fears do come through other past lifetimes, absolutely.
When does the ego fully integrate into the human body?
The birth. And so, it is kind of a part of your soul essence. It is that fingerprint of you. And so it does sort of stay, and it can mature. This is why you notice, oh, they're an old soul, because they've got that maturity about them. And so I hope we're explaining this appropriately for you.
Yes, you are. Please continue.
Okay, so it comes with you. You can't really get rid of it. Because it's an invisible organ that always stays with your soul spark, shall we say. So it is a fingerprint within the soul spark.
Mm-hmm. What is the difference between the inner child and the ego?
Okay, so the inner child is where you've got stuck and triggered by certain things. So your inner child is still, as an adult, your inner child is the reflections of things that have got triggered points, and it's not really, the inner child is happy with you and joyful as such, because usually when the inner child is super happy, it is because the adult is at a super stuck low place. And so your inner child is trying to be bringing joy to your life very much. So people do appear childish because the adult version of that person struggling with the adult matters. And so, but it always comes back. If your inner child is coming and presenting itself to you, it is from it can be so there's two things for it. So the inner child that is stuck in trauma, that is challenged and is kind of haunted and repeating fears for you. So your inner child is saying, no, we mustn't go down a dark alley because I got really scared that time. And so they keep trying to trigger you as the adult, say, no, not darkness, no, no, no. And so your inner child with the traumas are going to pull you back and hold you back because they have not been healed or released and they're still in a fear and fright mode. And so anything that's happened to your childhood as such, big stuff, will instantly come into play and try and kick your conscious mind to be in high alert, even though you can't remember that event as a child. So that's that's fun to navigate, isn't it? That's very challenging. Just like when it's past lifetimes and you don't know that those are triggers either. So it is very hard, but it is a good conversation to have because the inner child is really two components. The happy you of the inner child experience, you don't get to hear that or see that. You've forgotten about those. Those are completely fine. The inner child that comes into your life now is either, as we said, the triggered with trauma from this lifetime or all the other lifetimes, and then the happy inner child that is trying to protect you potentially from your childhood experiences and this current lifetime. So you will see people who are very childish and very sort of like, children, bless them, can be, walking on earth angels with big old souls, or also can be very self-centered and self-focused, and we're not judging, but we're just kind of reminding people, painting the picture of people. So you can maybe think, oh yes, that resonates with me from so-and-so. So gosh, we feel like we're getting into some trouble.
No, thank you. This is such great information. So we can actually channel our own ego then.
Yes, well, it's your personality. So that's your own ego is really your personality. So it's your conscious mind, and so your ego is not your subconscious. It's not a higher being. It's your current day life experience and the summary of everything that you are now.
Okay. And this is associated with the inner work that we're doing right now, correct?
Yes, well, you're wanting to make sure that the inner child is balanced and working in harmony with you and not holding you down and not controlling you so much that you can't actually do your own current work, that your daily life now. So there is so much going on with your inner thoughts and your triggers eternally, with stuff that you could just be thinking you're having a normal everyday life, and your inner child's come in twice before, and there's a lot of things. There's so much that can go on. It's really hard to be
Okay, no, I love it. You're doing great. And my next question is, so if our ego is our personality and our energy is transferred within the human DNA, is this why some parents with their children get so upset because they remind them of their parents and their personality and their ego?
We need you to repeat the question, please. We need to hear it again. Sorry.
Okay. Since the ego is a part of our personality and a part of our body, it is transferred into our DNA. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And in the family unit, there are a lot of diverse egos. And so, an example of this might be a grandchild drives the parent crazy because they remind them of their own mothers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, is that how the ego works within the family unit?
Um, well, sort of, but we'd say in those sort of situations, it is to be able to do instant karma within 2 generations. So you experience one situation, and then as the parent, you're supposed to not repeat the cycle, but you're supposed to stand up. So if you've got a dominating parent, and then you become your own parent to your children, you do not want to repeat the same, and you do not want to be dominant. So then you'll be submissive, but you're already submissive to your parents, and so therefore you're repeating the pattern, and you're giving the child the allowance to be the dominant one, and you are keeping that cycle going. There is the ideal situation with that is if you had a dominant parent, you become a parent, you parent differently from your parents to be able to allow your child the freedom to live as they need, with still having boundaries and rules. And so, but without going to the extreme of the dominant. And so this is how it's not really anything to do with ego in this scenario that we're talking about. It is simply behaviors and repeating and allowing people to treat you the same way and expecting people to treat you the same way. And so the parent who is being controlled by the parents have this system and this belief system that they should be treated a certain way. So their ego is small. And so when they want to be parents for themselves and they need to connect with their children, their small ego can't be the strong, firm, boundary creating parent that child needs, because their ego is too small, because it hasn't dealt with the impacts from their own childhood. And so accidentally, that parent to those children are trying to do the best they can for the child while they still got that small ego. And the children are very independent and will want to get their own way and want to be able to control the situation. Bless them as being independent, sovereign beings. And so they will want chocolate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for example. And it is hard for the parent who has the small ego to really sort of empower themselves and to be able to stand up to their own children, because they want their children more than anything to have a very easy, good life, which because they don't want their children to have what they had as children, but they don't see where the disconnects are and where the patterns are repeating, for example. So each soul has a different fingerprint of their organ, of their ego, and so it is not merged in. It's not a family of ego lines. It's not a family of the same organs. You've all come differently. Some families love reincarnating with each other over and over and over and over again, and they still have their unique organ. They still have their unique ego, even though they have cultivated each other's egos throughout all of the lifetimes to create who they are today.
Thank you so much. That's an amazing answer. Religion and New Age spirituality are on the polar opposite spectrums about telling us not to have an ego. What are your thoughts on this?
It is to disconnect you with yourself and to see that you can have a healthy ego where you love yourself and you're okay with yourself and you're proud of yourself. We would like to say that some religions and some New Age groups and belief systems are another forms of control. And we would not want you to have any type of control at all. Because we want you to be able to be free to explore who you are and to be who you want to be. And any type of negative impact that may question you being a special being, any control of any form is never going to help your ego. we want to say that most people who are trying to tell you to keep your ego small have much big egos themselves. So this is about them not wanting you to see how big their ego is by trying to squash yours down. And if they could keep squashing yours down so you feel insignificant, so you can't think and feel for yourself and have intuition, because they want you to just be able to be spoon-fed the information they want you to have through them. So we know this is very big statement, and we know that some people may be triggered by it, but this is how we see it. There are still so many things that you would think should be good for you and sounds great and sounds very spiritually aware and wants and sounds from the outside that this is something that's going to help you grow and be nurtured, and be able to walk into your own power and empower yourself. And then, of course, the on-flow effect would be to empower others. But once you kind of get into the backstory and to marinate yourself in those kind of environments, then you suddenly realize it is very challenging to kind of grow within yourself, because those people with the big egos do not want anyone else to beat them, does not want anyone else to grow unless they've chosen you to grow. And so it is very stifling. And unfortunately, many people will start resonating with something, and they'll just keep it into a habit. And they will just keep doing something out of a habit, thinking, "Oh, this is good for me. This is good for me." But really, it's not. It's capping you, and it's not letting you flourish. And so this is why we've really wanted you all to be able to have that inner self-worth and trusting and connecting in with yourself, to be able to get the intuition just fantastic, because it's so easy to do. Once you start thinking and feeling for yourself and not having any gurus, not having any leaders, and not having anyone that you look up to apart from yourself. And some people are like, "Oh, that's just a really selfish statement you've just said there. There's no way I could possibly be able to do that. That would mean that I really love myself." And we're saying, yes, yes, absolutely. Love yourself. It's the whole point of this. Love yourself and be proud of who you are, because then you will always have that higher vibration, and you will always want to keep pleasing yourself for yourself, because of no one else but just for you. And you will be on the right path, doing things constantly to be able to make yourself feel proud. And so that is giving your time to humanity, that is being a kind citizen, that is being a loving, supportive friend. And you are doing it to help others, but because you're just reassuring to yourself, "I'm a great person, and I'm doing this not only to help others, but just to reassure that I am a genuine person. I'm not doing anything for the praise or the payoffs, or so people could notice me that I'm a really kind person because I do charity." No, you have to be doing it for sincerity. And as everyone else's intuition grows and grows and grows, you are able to spot the insincere people who are giving their time to charity, because you can see it all posted in photos on Facebook, shall we say. So you don't have to be a genius to figure out people's true intent.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. What's the difference between the feminine ego and the masculine ego here on Earth?
These are labels that you guys seem to love, and we're saying you're all one. And so you're wanting to try and be able to define what is a feminine part and what is a male part. And we're saying that you really, it is like saying, what is a good analogy here? It is like saying the air around you has some parts that are male and some parts that are female. We're saying some parts of it are feminine and some parts of it are masculine, when it's all the same. Air is air. And when you want to start nitpicking on certain things, then you're going to have to start, it's, we say that we see things at a much broader perspective, but we will try and help you with your question, which is a valid question. And so we say that the feminine part of your aspect of your ego is the emotions more, and the verbal communications more, this is very general, so bear with us. And then the masculine side of the ego is the pragmatic, is the more logical, and the steadfast, and the more stern, and less risk taking. So we feel like this is massive general, but in terms of energy, we don't want to say one's lighter, one's heavier, because that's absolutely not. They energize, they're energetically exactly the same, but instead of up and down, let's say that they're sitting beside each other, left and right. And so it is a beautiful balance. And everyone needs to have a nice balance between their male and female, their masculine and their feminine energies. And you all do have that. And so we don't want you to worry about such things, but we also know that you do. More curious rather than concerned, shall we say.
Yes. Thank you for that thorough answer. We definitely have made stereotypes on Earth.
Because you are wanting to understand everything. You're wanting to understand and categorize it and have no surprises. And so you just are so, it's so cute for us to see you being so sincere with trying to understand everything. But unfortunately, a huge part of your education and history and how you have found science and a whole lot of other stuff is not exactly how we would see it. And so it's very challenging for you to really get to the true integrity and the honesty and the true results of things and understand it truly from our perspective. Not that you're supposed to. You're human. You're supposed to go along with the play, even though you're drinking fake cups of tea and you're acknowledging an emperor who is naked on the street and saying, wow, those are great new clothes.
Can our higher selves and our spiritual teams hear everything our ego hears? Do you guys laugh at us?
Well, only because we're watching you so much, and it's not really laughing as a mocking, but when we see you enjoy, this makes us very happy and makes us also feel lighthearted and pleased that you're having these experiences. And also we have to say, when you're challenged and you're in some really triggering situations, we're also really proud of you for not like completely losing your shit. And we're saying this very generally, like we know how hard everything is. And when we see you guys just sort of stumble and fall, and we're watching you very closely, and you always impress us with how much you just sort of stand up and shake off your knees and kind of go, right, where should I head from here? And sometimes you're a little bit slower because it really does hurt when you fall. Like it really, really does hurt. It hurts your egos, it hurts physically, and just, you can have a really bad day. And, we are watching you and we're so proud every single time you stand up and you dust yourselves off. You always do it. You always dust yourselves off and continue on your path, and we're just so proud of you because you just have not given up. And, from our side of you, point of view, sometimes we think, gosh, we would have given up because it's so hard. We see so much, and so we're really proud of you for, keeping on the positive and keeping yourself learning and experiencing and not making the same mistakes, not triggering yourself with the same stuff. You're just so thirsty for information. You're so thirsty to be able to really empower yourselves to master all of these things that are happening. It's so intensive right now. It's like watching life on planet Earth and concentrate, and so we're seeing everything, and we're just so proud of you. And there's never a judgment, and we laugh, and we do laugh in our own way, because we can feel your joy. And, we laugh when there is just some funny things that humans do that does make us funny, that does make us kind of chuckle. But, that's not, that's nothing that you need to worry about.
All right. Well, thank you for that positive reinforcement. I think we'll all appreciate that message more and more as time goes on.
We just want to say, it's like children. And when you're watching children and they may do something funny, and it's not because they're doing something funny, it's just, so cute and just, it's entertaining as the adults to see them try to fix problems and solve puzzles and stuff. And It amazes us because you guys do things that really are quite unexpected. And so it's like, oh, look at them do this now. This is so funny, and we're not trying to be, we're not trying to be sarcastic or to be demeaning, because we understand the challenges, and we truly are sincere when we say that we do understand the challenges. But you always surprise us with how you approach things, and we do appreciate all of the, in quotation marks, entertainment and lessons you provide for us. Because we're not there on earth right now, and so we can't navigate ourselves. So we are living vicariously through you.
So you are kind of taking the temperature, as you could say, through our experience.
Yes, we're all part of a bonus of being your higher selves and your subconsciouses and your guides, is to have a close connection with you. So we're along with the ride. We're learning just as much as you are, even though we can see things from a different perspective and we can see the bigger outcomes of everything. It's the smaller details that are quite interesting for us too, to sort of see how you master through that and see the chain reactions of what you do here, how that like evolves and reacts and makes things different there. So we're just kind of pointing to two different locations while we were saying that. So, sorry, you won't be able to see that.
All right. Well, we really are thirsty for doing our inner work. And I know that a lot of us are triggered right now. And I think that's under the umbrella of the ego. Can you please tell us, what is it about the human ego that is so triggered by death?
Well, because the human ego is afraid to lose the body, because right now you're under this illusion that it's a one lifetime situation. And so, you personally are quite attached physically, emotionally, everything to your body right now. And so your ego feels like it's part and parcel of it. And your ego is afraid that once you die, the ego is no longer. It is, it is, how should we say it is? So when you have a movie, regardless of wherever you start looking at the movie and how many times you've watched the movie, it's always going to have an end, a beginning, end, and a middle. And nothing's going to change the outcome of that movie. It's final. You have it on a DVD, for example, or whatever format you have it. It doesn't matter if you watch the entire thing backwards. It's still going to be in its entirety, nothing more, nothing less. And then this is really what your ego for this lifetime is going to be like. It's kind of sealed. When you leave the body, it is sealed. And there is the complete life experience of everything that ever happened to you from beginning to end. And it's sealed. And so when you then choose your next lifetime, you get a small imprint of that ego, of the parts that you do want to focus on, or the parts you want to work through, picking your families, and then you seal that in with your life. So you don't take the organ with you as such every single life. It's not the same ego organ as we're referring to. It is an essence of an essence of an essence, and the original ego part of it is with source. And so it is hard because you want to have something consistent with you, that you sort of call your soul essence and your soul spark, and that is essentially you, but it's all parts of you. And so when you're in a current lifetime, you adjust that ego organ from this current lifetime, and there has been some parts from one lifetime and another lifetime mixed in to have certain traits that is needed and required for that current lifetime. And of course you add on the environment that you are in, and that's kind of changed the shape of your organ ego. Oh, we tried to say those two words at the same time. Interesting. We will not create a new word today for you, but we will just keep on with this ego organ analogy just for the sheer entertainment factor.
Thank you. That's an excellent explanation. Could we please call in Carl Jung?
Mm-hmm. One moment, we will just reconnect. Yes, hello.
Hello. Thank you for coming in today.
I was in the background. I knew you were wanting to call me in anyway, so I've been sitting here. But then so is my other spiritual team, so that is fine. We're all here.
Wonderful. Well, when it comes to the ego, you have graced us with so much information here on Earth with all the books and knowledge. Can you please expand with what brought you to doing this work and explain the shadow for those who are unfamiliar with the work you've done?
Okay, so my lifetime as Carl was a very interesting one because I really wanted to expand on something that was having to understand and trust people, make people trust that something that was about them was very real and not imaginary. And a lot of people needed to have the proof of what I was trying to say. So I was trying to legitimize the information of the ego and the constructs of the ego and the forms of how the ego is created. Of course, I had my own very strong opinions from how that was all taking place. I was very motivated to help humanity understand humanity and to understand their fellow people that was around them, including understanding yourself. And so it did seem like to people in my time that I was trying to explain something that was invisible, and therefore, how could I ever prove it? So it was frustrating to me because I was wanting to be able to solidify and prove my point. And so I was very focused on being able to provide real analogies and real data and information about what I believed was so obvious to me, but everyone else was starting to slowly catch up.
Yes. How was your relationship with Freud? That's been written about in many, many textbooks and lecture halls all over the country.
Well, he had his opinion, I had mine, and we were trying to outshine each other. He was coming into my dreams, and I was going into his. Our spiritual teams were trying to merge us together to be able to have more supportive information to back each other up, because when you were having two complete different people saying different things on the same topic, it started confusing people. There was some consistencies, but not enough for each other to feel comfortable that we could really trust their information. So it was competitive rivalry, as also ego. We had big egos. We had big egos trying to explain ego.
Okay. Can you tell us how you would interpret the world's conflict right now with COVID?
With COVID?
With the COVID and the ego, and
Yes.
what this is doing to us as a society,
Mhm.
experiencing a whole one issue together as a planet?
Okay, so simplistically, big egos are trying to smother and squash and makes little all of your other egos. And so there is a few that want to have big egos who feel like they know best, and they're trying to dominate and control and make other people's egos small by adding fear and risk to their own ego existence.
Thank you so much for that, Doctor. Would you have anything to share with us today?
You are definitely able to use your free will to create in any form of ego you want. This is completely yours, and you do not need to listen to me or any of my work or understand any of it to be able to have complete control over you and your own ego. And while I may have got some things right and some things wrong due to my own ego, I'm not so ego-based now to be able to admit that to you, even though I would have purely liked to have cut out my tongue if I had to even suggest that. And I certainly did not want to celebrate anyone else that may have got a jump on me with the information that I was trying to get my name and my belief systems. And so it was a challenging time for me because I felt very motivated to get my work out there and to prove that I was the clever clogs. I understood things more and I could prove it more and easier than anyone else. And so I should have worked as a collaboration with more people, much more people. But I needed to prove my self worth and my intelligence to myself, to my peers, and primarily to my family, who was a challenging time, and it was different time. And so I want you all to feel empowered with you being able to cultivate and grow the shape of your own ego. And while there was the ridiculous analogy of the organ ego, obviously it is not a organ, but it is within you. And that is the hardest part of my conversation to have with people, was that you can't prove the ego or see the ego or define the ego as such for each individual person, because it is a construct of many influential factors. I was suspicious of previous incarnations and reincarnation, but I could not prove that either as such, as much as I would have wanted to. So I did not go into that, but therefore I was not able to truly factor in the possibilities of other lifetimes affecting your ego in this current lifetime. And now I wish I could have, and it would have been more fantastic, but then it would have absolutely made all the people wanting to poo me absolutely commit me into some mental institution, because I was already pushing the boundaries with the content that I was trying to convince people of in my current day.
Well, thank you so much for being a renegade and your huge contribution to society. We thank you, and I think that's all for today.
Thank you very much. I did the best I could. Of course, there was always room for improvement, and I am reflecting back on that lifetime now fondly, and enjoying the experiences that I had. And of course, I have had many other lifetimes since then, and I have mastered my ego to be more balanced.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and call in Joe's higher self, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes, hello, we're all back. It's not just Joanne's high self, there's many here still helping.
Okay, well, I think we'd like to end today with a message. What would you guys like to share with us on this topic for our audience?
Yes, we want to confirm as well that you controlling your own egos and not being embarrassed if your ego feels small or if your ego feels big, but realize that other people can sense the state of your ego. So you cannot hide your ego. It is very visible to people with good intuition. And so when people are trying to help you, it's because they can sense that there is some support there. And this is a challenging time because everyone wants to help each other because they love each other and want to support each other forever and always. But this is your personal journey. This is your responsibility to find where your ego and how your ego is looking. Is it a healthy organ, or is it something that you're neglecting? And we say that we know with great confidence that you will do the best work for your ego. You will not be embarrassed that you have this organ. Everyone needs this organ, shall we say. And we hope that you've enjoyed our analogy and this has helped you with such an abstract conversation.
Thank you. And thank you for your analogy. I believe it will be one that will ring true for many of us. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we say this with so much love.